Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. I know it's been a while, but I have had college work, but that is all over now. I'm done with all that rubbish. So let's get started with 1.19, shall we? This is going to be a very interesting modding experience, as some things have changed, not necessarily for the better. But yeah, so let's get started with this 1.19 tutorial series. Now, first thing I'm going to say before we do anything is Java is basically a requirement for this. You should know at the very least the basics of Java. If you don't, go and learn that first. It will only take you, a few weeks, and then you can come back and make a mod. As long as you know the basics, so all of object-oriented programming, so methods, classes, and then also knowing all the data types, so doubles, floats, integers, booleans, and other things like that. And obviously some of the standard library, so knowing stuff like suppliers, strings, all that stuff. There's loads of stuff. I could go on forever telling you all that stuff. So let's get started with the things we need to install, as usual, for every modding tutorial. So the first thing we're going to install is Adoptium. Now, you might not have heard of Adoptium before, but essentially this is just a JDK. It's an open JDK. We don't have to go through all of Oracle's mess to get this. So all we need to do is just download the latest LTS, which is JDK 17. So we can just press that. That'll just bring you to this page and we can hit download. So I'll just put that in my installers folder. That shouldn't take too long to download. So we'll just wait for that. And there we go. So we can just open that. And we can now close our Adoptium window. We'll just let it compute how much space it's going to take up, which shouldn't take too long. Don't know why it's taking quite so long right now. We'll just give it a few seconds. There we go. Okay, so we can just hit next and you'll see this customize setup window. Now what we want to do here is just make sure everything is correct. So we want to make sure add to path is on entire hard drive or local hard drive. Associate jar, we'll keep that on the hard drive too. And also the set Java home, we'll have that entire feature as well. We'll ignore this JavaSoft Oracle thing. That's an old thing. It's not used anymore. So we can just hit next and install. And once again, this is something that shouldn't take too long. We do have, obviously, the UAC window. You can just hit yes on that. Now, mine is actually being used right now. I'm not sure what by. I only have... Okay, this might end the video. Possibly. I'm not sure if OBS uses Java. We're about to find out. So let's hit close applications. Okay, I think that's irrelevant. Anyways, it didn't close anything. And there we go. We can just hit finish. Fantastic. Now, before we continue, let's go ahead and create our mod folder. So, actually, I'm just going to have it on my desktop. That'll be a lot easier, won't it? I don't like putting stuff on my desktop, but what am I doing? Okay, I'm getting confused. 1.19 tutorial mod. God damn it. Okay. Someday I will learn to type. Trust me. Okay, we have our folder. You can put it obviously wherever you want. Just don't put it on a OneDrive because that will cause issues. Any network drive really, so Google Drive as well, that would mess up. So avoid putting it on anything other than those. Okay, the next thing we want to do is download our IDE. So this is what we will be using to code in. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using IntelliJ. However, you can obviously use Eclipse. Personally, I use Eclipse. Just for these tutorials, I will be using IntelliJ. So if you want to go to Eclipse, easy to download, it's just there. There's obviously as well something like VS Code. However, I don't recommend that. It's not meant for this sort of thing, and you'll have problems with it. But all you need to do is just download the community edition and just plonk that in your downloads folder or whatever you want that to download. That's actually quite big, 592 megabytes. So yeah, we'll just let that install, and in the meantime we can go ahead and download Forge. So yes, Forge has released already. It's quite impressive the timing that they've managed to do it. They released only a few hours after. So we just want to hit the MDK. Now before you do that, let's discuss versions. So as of recording, there is only a latest version and also these older versions, but you don't want to use those. But as you are watching this, there could be a recommended version here somewhere. Let's just check where that would be. Right, so that would be on the right. So if there's a recommended version here, then you have your two options. Now personally, I recommend the latest version. I don't recommend the recommended version. I know that sounds really weird, like it's a recommended version, why would you not recommend that version? But it's just not, there's no point using a recommended version because 99% of the time the latest version is perfectly fine and doesn't have any issues. So it's up to you which you choose to use. If you're having problems with the latest version, then just use the recommended version, if there is one, of course. For now, there isn't one, so we'll just download this one. And you can always change it as a later date, which I will be showing you in a future tutorial. So has IntelliJ downloaded? Yes, it has. So if we just open the installer here, we'll download the MDK in a second. We have another UAC prompt. I'll close that window now. Let's hit next. Now it's going to choose where it wants to install. I actually want it on my D drive. Okay, great. Let's go next. Okay, and then you can obviously choose the things you want here. I'm going to add this one. I'm going to add... No, I don't want those ones. I'll have these two. And probably should do this one, but it requires a restart, so I'm not going to do that one. Okay, we'll just hit next, we'll hit install, and IntelliJ will install. Now that shouldn't take too long, but while that is doing that, we'll just install the MDK real quick. So we're just going to want to put that in our mod folder. So just save it. That downloads instantly. All well and good. Let's just open that folder. And we want to extract here. I believe that's actually a 7-zip thing. So, if you don't have 7-zip, then just open the zip and just drag it in. But that's fine. You should know how to do that. And we just want to delete some files, so we'll delete the MDK, we'll delete the credits, delete the changelog, delete the license, and the README. Make sure you don't delete anything else, because the other things are not. These things here are all the important files that we need to have. So IntelliJ setup has completed. We won't run it. Actually, yeah, we'll run it. No, we won't. We'll run that in a minute. Okay, now we have all of this. Let's go through and just sort some things out real quick. So the first thing we want to do is let's open our build.gradle. Just going to open that with Notepad. And I'm just going to clean this file up a little bit because we're going to want to mess around with this a lot. Well, maybe not a lot, but quite a bit. So let's just remove some comments because personally I don't like having all these comments. They sort of make it very messy. And personally, I know what this stuff does anyways. If you don't, then obviously feel free to leave the comments. It's completely up to you. It doesn't actually change anything, but they just sort of get in the way for me. So this one right here, I'm actually going to be leaving because we're going to want that in the future, or at least we might want it in the future. I'm going to remove these things here, this logging stuff. Because that just makes a mess. Get rid of that there. And I'm going to get rid of the logging here as well. Going to get rid of that. Going to get rid of the logging here as well. Make sure to not delete too much. If you're scared about deleting something, just don't delete it. It won't do you any harm. I sort of know what I'm deleting, so I'm fine to go ahead and delete stuff in here. But yeah, if you do have any issues after deleting stuff, just like undo it. Just don't delete it because yeah, okay. So that's all cleaned up there. In fact, I'm going to uncomment this line here. There's no reason to have that commented. Okay, so the one thing we're going to want to instantly do here is we're going to want to change a few things. So, for example, this group right here. So this is basically, I don't really know how to explain the group. It's sort of the package that leads to your main class is how I would personally explain it. So I have a website, so I can just do dev.turtywurty dot and then whatever my mod name is going to be, so you know, tutorial mod or whatever. However, if you don't have a website, you could just do something like your GitHub. So for GitHub, you would do io.github. You know, and then whatever your GitHub username is. So mushy peas dot and then whatever your mod name is, so tutorial mod. The important thing here is that this is all lowercase and there's no, you know, spaces or whatever, and no special characters, so just keep the basic characters here. I'm just going to add back mine. Go. So that will be what mine is. Now, what you put here as sort of your mod name, it's important that you remember this because this is going to need to be your mod ID as well. So what is your mod ID? Let's talk about that. So your mod ID is basically a string that identifies your mod. So it has to be unique to your mod. If anyone else has this mod ID, then it could cause conflicts. And you know, well, it will cause conflicts. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure it's unique. So obviously something like tutorial mod is an awful mod ID because there are a few tutorials. And I myself have used this mod ID before. So, you know, you would have instead something like Turties 1.19 tutorial mod. That's not a very good mod ID either. You need to come up with something a little more creative than that. But I'm just going to leave it as tutorial mod because I don't really care about it conflicting because no one's going to be using this mod. But just make sure you choose wisely with that mod ID. You know, no special characters, no uppercase, no spaces, nothing like that. And then you just want to copy that and paste it into this archives base name, which is your mod ID. And then we're going to copy this archives base name and we're going to paste it around a little bit. So anywhere you see this example mod thing, you want to paste in replace with your archives base name. So without the quotes around it, just blank archives base name. And we're just going to want to do that everywhere that we see example mod. So here as well. And we'll leave these ones just for a second. Okay. We're also going to want to do these here. So where it says mods and then example mod. Now this isn't a string, so we need to actually put our mod ID here. Just plain in there. And all these ones. Okay, let's come down to this jar manifest attributes. Here is just the name of your mod as this first one. So I'm just going to call this tutorial mod. This can have spaces, uppercase, whatever. This is just the title of your mod. And then you have the vendor, which is just the author, really. Which is Turty. If you didn't know, that's me. And same here for the implementation vendor. That's also me. Just remove that comment. Obviously here you have the version as well. You just want to make sure that's the right version for your needs. And yes, that should be it. So we can save this file. And let's go open CMD in this folder. That's not the CMD I was looking for. Can I get the other CMD? Nope. Okay. I guess that's what it's giving me. So all we want to do, as long as we have CMD in this folder, we can just do Gradle W, or as I like to say, Gradle gen IntelliJ runs. That's all you need to do. If you're using Eclipse, then it would be gen Eclipse runs. And if for whatever weird reason you're using VS Code, then it's just gen VS Code runs. But obviously we're using IntelliJ, and you just want to hit enter. Now, this can take quite a long time, depending on many factors. So, you know, your CPU speed, your hard drive speed, internet speed, whether you've done it before. There's tons of different things that can affect how long this takes. It can take a few hours. You know, if your computer is slow, it can take a few hours. I've seen it take, you know, like 14 hours for one person, which is pretty insane. Now, it is important to note you need at least 4 GB RAM to be able to run this. If you don't have 4 GB RAM, then I'm afraid it's probably not going to work. You can do it with about 3 GB, but it doesn't really work. It's a little bit risky. So yeah, you'll be safe with 4 GB. And yeah, this is going to take a while, so I'll be back when this has completed. Okay, that actually was really quick. That was actually insane. 2 minutes and 17 seconds. That is very quick. It probably won't be that quick for you. I don't know why that was so quick. Probably because I have done this sort of stuff a lot before. But anyways, you'll now see a few new files in here. Actually, just one folder, and that is your IDEA folder. If you're using Eclipse, there'll be a lot more new files here as well. Now, it is important to note, if you are using Eclipse, you're also going to want to run Gradle W, or as I like to say, Gradle Eclipse as well. It's not necessary, but if you're using Eclipse, it does help to run that as well. So, now let's go ahead and open IntelliJ. Here we are. Okay, so we don't have any import settings, so we'll just press OK. Okay, here we are. So let's full screen this. Now we're going to want to open a project, and we're going to want to go, yes, it is in our C drive, isn't it? So we're going to want to go to our desktop. I'm just going to bring this over and plonk our desktop on there. So we're going to want to trust our project. I'm just going to trust the whole directory. Here we go. And everything is loading. Okay. Fantastic. That's actually opened the desktop. That's not... That's not what I meant to do. Right, let's try this again. Let's open the right folder this time. So, there we go. This window. Okay, here we are. So here is what it should look like. Now. Oh, okay. Things are taking up a lot of space here. Let's just resize these windows to a little bit better. Okay. Let's just try and get the game running, shall we? So let's go into source main Java, and that will just expand this. Now I'm going to delete this com folder, and I'm going to create a new directory, and I'm going to call this dev/30worty. Actually, can I use slashes? I don't really know how IntelliJ works, I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to manually create each folder here. And another directory, which is the name of the mod, so tutorial mod. Now this just needs to be the same path as what we put in our build.gradle. So if we find it here, dev30worty tutorial mod, just needs to be the same as this here. Then let's create a new class. Why can I not create a new class? IntelliJ? Hello? Okay, I guess we're creating a new file then. This just needs to be basically our main file. I just like to call that the name of my mod. It doesn't really matter. Oh, right, we need to set up the JDK. Of course. So let's press setup SDK here, and we're just going to want to choose our JDK here. As you can see, it's already found mine. However, if it hasn't found ours, we want to just go to add SDK, then go to JDK, and we just want to go ahead and find our JDK, which I know mine is somewhere on my D drive. So here is mine. Mine is in program files, Eclipse Adoptium, JDK 17. Just go ahead and hit OK. And it didn't like that, so I guess it probably needs... Oh. Is that not it? It didn't like that. I think I messed something up whilst setting mine, so I'll just use this one right here. And we'll just let that index the JDK. That might take a hot minute. Let's also delete this file and we'll recreate it when the indexing has completed. Come on. Okay, I'm just gonna let this do its thing and I'll be back when it's completed. Okay, there we go, that has completed. It took quite a while, but it has completed. So now let's go into our source main Java and our folder here. And now we can create a Java class. There we go. Now we just want to call this basically our mod ID, but with the right conventions, of course. So mine is obviously tutorial mod, and all we need to do here is create an @mod annotation and pass in our mod ID. So you can obviously pass that as a string. However, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pass in tutorialmod.modID. Not like that inside the brackets, of course. And as you see, that doesn't exist. We can just create that. So public static final string. This needs to be a constant, as obviously we don't want our mod ID to change. And that's just tutorial mod. There we go. So that should work. Now the final thing we need to do before we are able to run the game is go into source main resources, and inside of meta inf we need to adjust our mods.toml. Now I'm just going to remove all these comments. However, if you want to read through them, that is completely up to you. Just make sure you don't delete anything accidentally here as well, as yeah, that will cause you many issues, which we don't really want to go through. So let's just delete everything that's unnecessary, or everything that I don't want anyways. So I'll delete that, we'll leave these for now, because we can talk about them at a later date. I think I actually did delete the issue tracker, but that's fine. Display test, oh that's new. I saw CPW working on that. I'm actually going to remove that because I don't think we need it at all. Okay, and we can just delete these dependencies down here. They're not necessary. And get rid of that. And I'm going to clear out this description because it's just some lorem ipsum anyways. Okay, now let's go through. So this mod ID here, that's just your mod ID as we already discussed. Mine is tutorial mod. Then we have the version here. I'm just going to put 1.0. Then we have the display name, which is the name of your mod. So mine is tutorial mod. Then you have the update JSON URL. We don't need to talk about that. Then you have the display URL, which once again, not important. Then you have the logo file, not important. And then we have the credits. So those are just the credits of your mod, who you're crediting. So I'm crediting me. And the authors is, once again, me, Turtywurty. And then we just have the description here. So this is just the description of your mod. I'm just going to say a 1.19 Forge modding tutorial. That's all I'm going to put. It's not too important. We also have the license up here. That's something you probably want to fix. Mine's going to just be MIT. Fantastic. So now, I believe we should be able to run the game. Let's go ahead and go to run. And here we have run client. And that's just going to build. It's going to do prepare runs. And we should be able to see it work. Here we go. Let's just let it load up. Just got to do the basic stuff. This is my first time loading 1.19, so it'll probably take a little longer the first go. And here we are. We're in the game. If we go to the mods menu, we have our tutorial mod. There we go, that's it. So that is all for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll be adding an item, and in the tutorial after, we'll add a block, and we'll continue from there. So if you guys did enjoy this tutorial, please do be sure to peck that like button with your nearest pigeon, and be sure to subscribe as well. If you really enjoyed, obviously go ahead, share it around, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.
Hay una columna ahí que da cuidado,